What is his relationship with money? All right. So we're going to break this down to 3 little quick things. First aspect is he a spender or a saver? All right. I think it's important to understand, does this man have very expensive taste? Does he have a spending habit, or is he more frugal? Now, again, which one he is and if that works for you is going to depend on you. So basically, if you are an extremely frugal woman, getting with a big spender can become a huge conflict unless you two can agree upon a proper structure of how you guys will manage money. Discussing, okay, well, if we're going to spend over a certain amount, we have to discuss it with each other, but anything less than that, do what you want. You know, as long as this is being taken care of first, you know, pay bills and things first, and then you can have fun. Like you have to have these discussions, because if not, it can go all haywire in the relationship. And it's the same thing on the flip side. Let's say you are a spender, all right, and he's super frugal. Hell, let's go as far as he can be cheap, all right? This can also still be a conflict. So it's making sure you two are on the same page on how you view money and how you view the management of that money. All right. Spending, investment, so on and so forth. The second aspect that has to be discussed is, what kind of debt is he carrying? Listen, if we're going to get married to each other, we have to know each other's financial situation, because now we're going to be partially responsible for this stuff. And our individual debt will have an impact on what we can or cannot do in this marriage financially, at least until these things are taken care of. So there needs to be full disclosure on the debt that's being carried. Now, listen, I am not saying that you shouldn't marry him if he has debt. I do think you have to take a moment to understand what kind of debt it is. There's a difference between someone who ran up their credit card versus someone who owns student loans. All right. That's very different debt. It plays into very different habits with money, so to speak. All right. So we gotta go deeper into it, but we do need to know what it is. And then the third aspect that kind of connects to the debt is credit. All right. There needs to be a discussion on credit. But again, I have to say this. You cannot simply hear a credit score and make an evaluation on this person. That's a huge mistake. I see people saying, well, if their credit score ain't this, then I can't be with them. Listen, credit scores are fluid. They can change. You can improve, you can make them worse. So even if it's a low score right now, it's about understanding why it's low. All right. So again, there's a difference between someone who ran up a bunch of credit cards and never paid them versus someone who may have an outstanding hospital bill in a situation that came unexpectedly at a time that they weren't able to handle it. You know, there's a difference between a low credit score, because hell, there might be some incorrect information on the credit report. Like, there's all kinds of deeper explanations to it. Or I'll give you one example. I'll use me. I went from at one time having a high 700 to being like low 500 because I used to be in real estate investment, market crashed, credit crashed with it, all right? And I had to rebuild. And now I'm back, 800, whatever. But the point is, if a woman would have looked at that just at the score, she would have said, I can't be with you. But the explanation for it was simply due to real estate investment. And once understood, then you would realize, okay, all my other accounts were in good standing. I know how to pay my bills. It was just a very isolated incident. So you want to examine it further so you understand what exactly you're getting yourself into and what kind of person financially you are dealing with. All right, so let's keep this moving. Next question that must be asked before you marry a man is, how will we handle conflict? All right. So I'm gonna look at this from two main things that we have to include in this discussion. One, how we will communicate in conflict. All right. Having structure in place. I think one of the mistakes people make is they have no understanding of what the rules of engagement are with each other. when it comes to disagreements, when it comes to tense situations, things of that nature. It could be, okay, if we have certain things to say, maybe we do it by letter. It could be understanding, okay, if we're upset, we give each other a 24-hour period to decompress before we sit down and talk. It could be, okay, we agree that we don't go to sleep angry with each other. And before the night is over, we have a discussion about these things. Whatever floats your boat, you want to put these things in place in advance. We don't want to wait till the stuff hits the fan before we're trying to figure out how to handle things, because it's in that moment where your emotions are running wild, you're angry. It's much harder to think of a healthy approach and implement it at that time. But when we discussed it pre-negative event, then we have a much better chance of ensuring that we understand how to best navigate these moments. But the other aspect of this discussion that needs to be had is, are we open to counseling if it gets to that point? I think that's a discussion that's a question that needs to be asked, because one, I believe that before you get married, you should do premarital counseling. I believe everybody should. I think having a third party help you dissect all the issues is a very wise thing to do. But you really want to know if this man is open to exploring all measures of resolution. All right. Or is he someone that's going to be like, no, I don't do counseling, end of story. We either work it out ourselves or we can't work it out at all. And again, whether you're cool with that or not is up to you, but you need to know what kind of man you're dealing with when it comes to these things. So talk about it, but I do think that if it can be encouraged, counseling should be included as at least a last ditch effort. Like, okay, listen, we're going to try to always work things out on our own. But if we reach a stalemate, and we're not seeing any progress, then can we agree at that point, we then do counseling? And he's like, all right, cool, then you guys are good to go. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Marriage is a magnifier. It's either going to magnify the good or it's going to magnify the misery. But it itself will not correct the issues that already exist in a relationship. And boy, are there some issues